Yes, people, welcome to Crime Daily. A major drugs network that sold huge quantities of cocaine, heroin and cannabis was brought down after their secretive EncroChat messages were obtained by detectives. James Wright, Sean Burrow and Thomas O'Brien were high-ranking drug dealers who commanded influence over a chain of criminals. Their operation involved safe houses, cannabis farms and negotiations held during clandestine hotel meetings before it was brought down in raids. Police struck at 11 homes across Merseyside on March 26 as they took out drug dealers working across Liverpool and the Wirral. Properties were stormed as suspects slept unaware their commercial-scale operation had been cracked by the Merseyside police. The strike day followed previous operations that had led to £237,000 being found in one dealer's home and came after EncroChat messages of several key members had been analysed by detectives. In total, the gang was linked to 48 keys of cocaine, 28 keys of heroin and 30 keys of cannabis. 9 members of the gang were jailed for a total of not short of 100 years across court hearings that concluded on Monday. Passing sentence, Judge Anil Murray described the network as a large, professional, sophisticated, well-planned, well-organised and successful operation. He added, EncroChat communications network, thought to have been impenetrable, but which was hacked by an international operation last year, was used as a powerful tool by those involved in serious organised criminality and in relation to several of the gang members, said the devices allowed them to live double lives. Judge Murray said he was satisfied the most significant player in the operation was James Wright. The 36-year-old of Gateacre Brow in Gateacre admitted conspiracy to supply cocaine, heroin and cannabis and possession of criminal property. He was directly linked to 19 keys of cocaine, 19 keys of heroin and 18 keys of cannabis that flow through the gang. Police seized 237 grand from his home in December 2020, but just months later, a second search led to the recovery of 15 keys of heroin. Judge Murray therefore said the loss of almost £250,000 did not cause you to falter. Alaric Walmsley, defending, said his client was a working man who had shown he could be a useful member of society. Mr. Walmsley said he has a long-term partner and assures me he feels genuine remorse for his actions. Judge Murray said Wright, who used the Encro handle Stunhorn, had led a double life in which many of his friends and family wrongly believed him to be an upstanding member of society. Wright was sentenced to 16 years in jail. Sean Burrow was said to operate just beneath Wright and was linked to 15 keys of cocaine and 1.7 keys of heroin. The 29-year-old of Park Road, L8, was also connected to 12.8 keys of cannabis and a cannabis farm busted by police. The dad of 5 used the EncroChat handle Mr. Big Arms to discuss cash exchanges of up to 600,000 and was shown to source and sell multi-kilo amounts of Class A drugs, including to co-defendant Thomas O'Brien. Judge Murray said he had read a letter sent to him by Burrow, in which he described as articulate, telling the dealer, "You are clearly an intelligent person. It's a shame you couldn't put that talent to a different use." Damian Nolan, defending, said his client blames no one other than himself and had been a model prisoner who had since his arrest shown a desire and willingness to engage and address the offending behaviour. After hearing references describing him as a good father, the judge accused Burrow of also living a double life. Liverpool Crown Court heard he had substantial links and influence and controlled others, including associate Kieran Meehan. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to supply cocaine, heroin and cannabis and the production of cannabis and was sentenced to 13 years and 6 months. Thomas O'Brien was the only one of the key gang members to take his case to trial, but was convicted of conspiracies to supply cocaine, heroin and cannabis. The 43-year-old of Finchley Drive in Notty Ash used the Encro handle Scar Wars with messages linking him to 12 keys of cocaine and 3 keys of heroin. He also used to associate with Stephen Sinclair as a warehouse man for the storage of the drugs. Judge Murray said O'Brien operated just below Burrow in the network. Trevor Parry-Jones, defending, argued O'Brien was not blessed with the greatest of sophistication and was living in debt. He was convicted of conspiracy to supply cocaine, heroin and cannabis and sentenced to 18 years. Marvin Pasalle played an operational function in the gang and was involved in the storage, couriering, cutting and supply of drugs. Police recovered 1 key of cocaine and titless when his partner's home was raided earlier this year. The 47-year-old from Burrow admitted conspiracy to supply cocaine, heroin and cannabis. The court heard he was the carer for a relative and had become involved in criminality due to drug debts, but that he was now a drug-free. Judge Murray told him the conspiracy could not have operated without the actions you took. He was jailed for 7 years and 6 months. Stephen Sinclair was convicted of conspiracy to supply cocaine, heroin, after being linked to a total of 4.3 keys of Class A drugs. The 53-year-old's home was used as a safe house by O'Brien, and just over a key of heroin and 300 grams of cocaine and $5,000 were found when the property was raided in January. The court heard he was using his time in prison constructively and that he hopes to put his difficulties and troubles behind him. Sinclair was sentenced to 10 years. David Conroy was convicted of conspiracy to supply heroin and worked with Burrow, with police finding he had made contact with 7 of Burrow's dirty phones. Said to have been Burrow's right-hand man, he met up with Wright at the Radisson Hotel in Liverpool City Centre to discuss a drugs transaction. Judge Murray said he was above Sinclair and Meehan in the gang and played a significant role. The court heard he was a single parent who was said to be a good parent and a caring person. Conroy, 43 of Luke Street, Toxteth, was sentenced to 8 years in jail. Kieran Meehan was convicted of conspiracy to supply heroin and to produce cannabis. The 30-year-old, who the court heard was of previous good character, was involved in the storage and supply of heroin and was linked to a 60-plant cannabis farm he worked on for Burrow. He was said to be a likeable and decent in references submitted to the court, but while the dad of 3 was beneath Conroy, Judge Murray said there was no evidence he was placed under any pressure to be involved in the drug network. Meehan of Wavertree was sentenced to 7 years. Michael Joseph was sentenced to 8 years and 1 month for possession of cocaine with intent to supply. The 56-year-old was found with 2 keys of cocaine in a rucksack after being seen at Burrow's home before visiting the MOT centre with him. He was trapped by police after leaving Burrow and seen getting onto 2 different buses with a bag which had import quality cocaine valued between 80 and 90 grand inside. Joseph, who told the court he had suffered multiple family tragedies over recent years, denied being a courier for Burrow, but Judge Murray concluded, "I am sure you were a trusted member of Sean Burrow's group." Joseph Locke of Rock East, Birkenhead, was sentenced to 8 years and 1 month in jail. Martin McCoy, who used the Encro handle Human Tender, admitted conspiracy to supply cannabis. Police found 13 grand when his home was raided, and he was found to have been in frequent contact with Burrow. References from Oakhurst described him as hardworking and polite. Peter Killen, defending, said the 42-year-old had no history of serious criminality. McCoy, 42 of Bury Close, Toxteth, was sentenced to 16 months. Yeah, that's it for another one anyway. Don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe. Peace.